Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving straight into the intensely loyal, deeply traditional, and, let's be honest, completely mouthwatering world of American Southern barbecue. We're going to unpack the science, the history, and the sheer culinary devotion it takes to turn a tough, unyielding cut of meat into meltingly tender perfection. Whether you're a hardcore backyard enthusiast or you just love eating fantastic food, there is a serious level of mastery going on behind those smokehouse doors that we really need to talk about.
To truly grasp the impact of this food, you kind of have to look at the absolute sensory overload experienced by uninitiated outsiders. When the culinary experts and chefs from the London restaurant Fallow were handed a massive, slow-cooked Texas beef rib for the very first time, they were just utterly floored. I mean, they were stunned by the gargantuan size, the dripping rendered fat, and the melting tenderness of a cut so ridiculously large they actually joked you could use it as a weapon.
And, that brilliantly illustrates our core question today. What exactly goes into the fire, the smoke, and the time that makes this regional cuisine an absolute global phenomenon? Like, how do pitmasters take something as elemental as wood and raw meat and transform it into an experience that literally leaves professional chefs completely speechless? To figure that out, we have to explore the strictly divided regional styles that define the American South.
Which brings us to Part 1, South Carolina style, sauce and swine. Let's get into it.
Let's start with our first heavyweight contender, South Carolina. This is a place where pork is practically a religion, and sauce recipes are these incredibly closely guarded secrets. For legendary James Beard award-winning pitmasters like Rodney Scott, traditional barbecue doesn't just mean cooking a single cut of meat, it strictly means whole hog. His philosophy is totally rooted in old family traditions, cooking those whole hogs over coals. But here is the real secret to his renowned flavor profile. He applies his signature sauce right after flipping the hot hog over on the pit. While the meat is still blistering hot, hitting it with the sauce at that exact moment helps crisp up the skin beautifully.
Now, what's totally fascinating is that South Carolina has these remarkably strict regional borders for its sauces. Geography and history literally dictate the flavor on your plate. Over in the PD and Williamsburg regions, vinegar and pepper absolutely reign supreme. It's the oldest sauce in the state, actually brought over by early settlers. But if you drive into the middle of the state, mustard suddenly becomes the base, likely because prepared mustard became super popular in the early 20th century, though some do credit earlier German settlers for that. Go even further west, and you hit tomato bases, which didn't really arrive on the scene until commercial ketchup blew up in the 1900s. It's crazy. Pitmasters can literally tell where a customer's family moved from just by asking what kind of sauce they want.
So the absolutely crucial point here is the actual science behind how that sauce is applied. In South Carolina, pitmasters traditionally use a literal mop. But why? Well, it all comes down to viscosity. The traditional vinegar and pepper sauce is incredibly thin. If you tried to dip a mop into a thick tomato or mustard blend, it would just run right off, and using a tiny little rib brush would take hours to coat an entire hog. The thin viscosity of the vinegar allows the mop to absorb it perfectly. It's simply the most efficient, time-tested tool for the job.
Now let's contrast the Carolinas directly with Texas. We're swapping out the secretive, tangy mops and the whole hogs for a completely different philosophy. Texas barbecue shifts its allegiance entirely to massive cuts of beef, raw fire and offset smokers, and a really stripped-down, minimalist approach to seasoning.
All right, Part 2, Texas style, smoke, salt, beef.
In Texas, the culinary focus completely shifts to celebrating the sheer quality of the meat itself through minimal intervention. You are definitely not going to find highly complex, tightly guarded wet mobs here. And to understand the intense cultural weight and demand for this specific style, just look at this staggering number, 150. When Goldie's BBQ, which is this small joint opened by a group of childhood friends, was unexpectedly ranked #1 by Texas Monthly Magazine, their production just exploded. Practically overnight, they jumped from cooking about 12 briskets a week to a mind-blowing 150 briskets a week. That is the true power of barbecue culture in Texas. When you get it right, the masses will literally line up at dawn.
But how exactly do they get it right? Well, instead of complex marinades, Texas joints like Goldie's rely on a heavy, incredibly simple coat of seasoning. For their massive Creekstone briskets, they just use a mix of coarse, 16-mesh black pepper, a seasoned salt, and standard table salt. That is it. For their beef ribs, literally just salt and pepper. It goes to show that truly great barbecue doesn't need to hide behind a mask of ingredients. It's all about elevating the natural, rich flavor of the beef itself.
And when that simple rub meets the smoke, you get something absolutely magical. The smoke ring. Remember those British chefs we talked about earlier? When they first cut into their Texas barbecue?
That bright pink layer initially gave them a bit of pause because, to the untrained eye, it almost looks raw. But it's actually a chemical reaction between the wood smoke and the meat proteins during a grueling 16-hour low-temperature cook. It is visual proof that right beneath that dark, peppery, charred outer bark lies a piece of meltingly soft, perfectly rendered perfection.
Which leads us right into part 3, the Pitmaster's secret techniques.
Whether you're in the Carolinas wielding a mop over a whole hog or you're down in Texas managing offset smokers packed with brisket, achieving this level of flavor requires grueling labor and some seriously precise techniques. Let's look at exactly how a perfect rack of pork spare ribs is built, using methods shared by Southern BBQ. First off, you have to square up the meat by trimming off the skirt and the chine bone, that's the backbone, just to make sure it cooks evenly. Now here is a fantastic Pitmaster secret. You leave the membrane on the back of the ribs. Why? Because the fat underneath that membrane renders out during the cook and essentially confits the meat in its own fat from the inside out. You hit it with that coarse 16-mesh pepper and salt, smoke it low and slow between 250 and 300 degrees, and eventually spritz it with a mix of apple cider vinegar and honey to build this incredibly sweet, sticky glaze.
But the final and perhaps the most absolutely critical, unspoken secret of the Pitmasters is the resting phase. You don't just pull the meat off the fire and eat it piping hot. No way! If you wrap a brisket too early and keep cooking it, or if you eat ribs straight off the pit, you end up with this mushy meat that tastes more like pot roast and falls completely off the bone. By wrapping the meat in foil and letting it rest for a long period as it slowly cools down to around 150 degrees, the bark sets up, the juices beautifully redistribute, and you get a tender product that still maintains a really satisfying bite-through texture.
All right, part 4, the complete barbecue experience.
As we approach the finish line here, we have to acknowledge that expertly smoked meat is really only half the story of a proper barbecue tray. You absolutely need a supporting cast to keep your palate awake during such a heavy meal. Take the humble smoked sausage, for instance. For our visiting British culinary experts, the incredibly satisfying textural snap of that sausage casing was just an absolute revelation. It offers a totally different mouthfeel compared to the soft, rendered briskets and ribs.
Navigating these essential sides is honestly like playing a game of Tetris on your plate. You've got your rich pit beans, which are often smoked right underneath the dripping meats. You have jalapeno cornbread that sits perfectly halfway between bread and cake. But more importantly, you desperately need the slaw and the pickles. Because the smoked proteins are so incredibly rich and fatty, the sharp acidity of a pickle or the crisp bite of coleslaw is absolutely essential to cleanse your palate. And of course, you need a plain slice of white bread to fold your leftover meat into a little taco, all washed down with a freezing cold iced tea. Having explored the meticulous science of the pit, the historical geography of those vinegar and mustard sauces, and the sheer scale and minimalism of the Texas smokers, it really leaves us with one final thought. Great barbecue isn't just a recipe. It's a profound exercise in time, extreme patience, and deep regional pride. So, considering everything we've unpacked in this explainer today, from a vinegar-mopped whole hog to a perfectly salt and pepper-crusted beef rib, what style of Southern barbecue will you pledge your allegiance to? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I hope it left you hungry to explore more.